It was a rainy Friday night when Emma's parents left town for a wedding. She was 17, old enough to stay home alone, and not the type to get scared easily. She actually liked the quiet. The only noise was the soft ticking of the kitchen clock, and the occasional rattle of thunder outside. Around 10 p.m., she settled in on the couch with a blanket, some popcorn, and an old horror movie playing low on the TV. Everything was perfect until the power flickered once. Then again, and then the screen went black. The entire house fell silent. Emma sighed. The storm must have knocked something out. She grabbed her phone to turn on the flashlight and made her way to the basement. That's where the circuit breaker was. She hated going down there. It smelled like damp wood and dust. It was the one place in the house that always felt colder and darker. She opened the creaky door at the top of the stairs. The flashlight barely cut through the black. Her socks made no sound on the wooden steps, but she could hear the storm outside and her own breathing, steady but alert. Halfway down the steps, she froze. There was a sound, a very slight one. A shuffle. It was coming from the far corner of the basement, the part behind the support beams, near the old shelves stacked with holiday boxes and tools no one ever used. She stopped moving, held her breath, listened. Nothing. Probably just the house settling, she told herself, not quite believing it. She stepped off the last stair, her flashlight bouncing off the concrete floor. The breaker box was to the left. The sound had come from the right. She tried to move quickly, ignoring the prickle on the back of her neck. She opened the panel and reset the switches. A moment later, the lights upstairs flickered back on. Relieved, Emma turned to go, but paused. That sound again, shuffling. This time, it was closer. Definitely not the house, not the wind, and not an animal. It sounded like a foot dragging across the floor. She pointed her light toward the corner, the beam shaking just slightly. "Hello," she said softly, immediately hating herself for doing it. Silence. Then very slowly, something moved. Not all at once, but like someone was shifting from behind the boxes. Emma took a step back, her heart now pounding so loud she could barely hear the storm. She turned and ran up the stairs, slamming the basement door behind her and locking it. She pressed her ear against the wood. Silence. Nothing followed. No footsteps, no knocking, nothing. She backed away, trying to breathe. It must have been her imagination, or maybe an old box falling, or a rat. Yeah, maybe a rat. Then her phone buzzed. A text from her mum. "Hey honey, did you remember to bring the Halloween decorations up? Dad thought they were still in the basement." Emma's stomach dropped. She texted back quickly. "I heard something down there. I think someone's in the basement." 3 dots. Her mum was typing. "That's impossible. We locked the basement door from the inside before we left. No one can get in there except you." Emma stared at the message, confused, then slowly turned to look at the basement door. Still closed, still locked. Then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The chain lock was hanging on the wrong side. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. From behind the basement door, she heard breathing. The breathing was faint, but it was there, right behind the basement door. Soft, slow, steady, like someone standing completely still on the other side of the wood, trying not to be heard. Emma didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the doorknob. The chain swayed slightly on its bracket, still hanging from the inside. Her phone buzzed again in her hand, but she didn't look at it. She couldn't take her eyes off the door. Then the breathing stopped. Not gradually, it simply ended. Everything became quiet again. So quiet she could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, as if nothing unusual had happened. But something had. She backed away slowly, her heart beating fast. Her phone's light was still aimed at the basement door. She hoped it would stay closed. In the kitchen, she stood by the counter, cold tile under her feet, trying to think clearly. Her fingers hovered over her phone screen. Should she call the police? Before she could decide, the basement door rattled, just once. A sharp, heavy sound that made the whole frame tremble. Emma jumped and nearly dropped her phone. Then nothing, only silence again. She was shaking now. The air felt thick, wrong, the kind of stillness that didn't feel natural. Then the living room lights turned off one switch at a time. Click, click, click. Each light disappearing in order. It wasn't a power surge. Her stomach dropped. She turned toward the front door and ran. But the moment she reached for the handle, she stopped. It was locked. She had left it unlocked. She knew she had. Her hands scrambled over the deadbolt, but it was stuck, twisted slightly, as if someone had forced it from the other side. Panic set in. She turned and bolted toward the back of the house. The windows were sealed shut. The frames had been painted over years ago. None of them would open. The back door was also locked. Same twisted deadbolt. Same impossible feeling. She was trapped. Then the hallway light upstairs clicked on. Just one at the far end of the hall, and someone was standing there, perfectly still. A shadowed figure just watching. Emma didn't scream. She couldn't. Her voice caught in her throat. She moved silently toward the downstairs bathroom, slipped inside, shut the door and locked it. She turned off her phone light and stood in total darkness. Her breathing was too loud. Her heartbeat echoed inside her head. Then she heard it. Footsteps, coming down the stairs, slow and heavy. The wooden floor groaned with each step. The figure walked through the living room, then stopped, right outside the bathroom door. She covered her mouth and held her breath. She could hear it now. The breathing again. Then 3 soft knocks on the door. Not rushed, calm, like whoever was outside had time. They waited, then turned and walked away, back through the living room, back to the basement. Emma didn't move. Not for a long time. When she finally opened the door, the lights were on again. The basement door was closed. The front door, this time, was unlocked. She grabbed her phone and ran outside, barefoot and shaking, into the street. A neighbor saw her and called the police. They searched the house top to bottom, every room, every closet, every corner of the basement. No one was there, but behind the shelves in the basement, they found things. A thin mattress on the concrete, a bucket, a few empty food containers, and an old flip phone, plugged into a battery pack. The phone was still on, still warm. Inside were dozens of photos, all of Emma, sleeping, watching TV, brushing her teeth. The pictures had been taken from inside the walls, through vents, cracks in doors, gaps behind furniture. The last photo was taken just 30 seconds before the police arrived. In it, Emma was standing at the front door. Behind her in the hallway, someone else was standing, watching her.